Warm greetings to one and all from ekamiasacademy, Hyderabad. As a part of discussion series, we have gathered again to discuss the process of election funding, its merits, demerits, and impact on the process of democracy, the right to vote, and other issues. So before that, I would like to wish everyone a happy Constitution Day and National Law Day, where today on the 26th of November 1949, the Constituent Assembly adopted the Constitution, and from 26th of January 1950, we were a republic where everyone was having a right to vote and decide the future of the nation. In this context, where elections have a prominent role in the casting of vote, the funding of elections, the campaigning, and the result of elections is significantly impacted by the money which is involved in the process of elections. Hence, today we intend to discuss the process of funding, the regulations, and other consequences of black money or kind of cash-based funding which is prevalent in India, and the measures which have been taken to restrict. So I open the discussion to the panel to invite perspectives, suggestions, and way ahead also. Fine, let me give a option. Let's start with why there is a need to fund elections. Can anyone talk about it? What is the need to fund elections basically?
Elections is a economic activity and also a social activity which involves a lot of human endeavor. So it obviously demands investing of resources in terms of pamphlets, usage of vehicles, as such. But of late, political parties have tended to use money to lure the voters. So it is taking a negative turn.
So the point being said is elections being an economic activity, and the instrumental nature of elections being campaigning, it requires funds, and now that the nature has been consequential in influencing the voter choice.
Yeah.
So that's where the concept of funding has taken a negative dimension, is what you wanted to tell. How can we?
Not opposing to the point, voting has become a negative term. The point is, we live in a society where people still now in urban countries also don't reach to the stage where other individuals reach. To make them reach what a political party wants to do, it is very important that that political party do some kind of advertising regarding their opinion on what they want to do after they come into power. Regarding the matter of funding them, it is completely, I believe it is completely choice of the political party, and people, by taking the fund from either parties, I feel people have the ability to reason themselves to vote for the right party which fulfill their needs.
But people should have the knowledge or know-how about the source of funding, because let us consider a situation where a voter considers a party's agenda of sustainable development or green economy, but tacitly that party is being funded by a oil company. Then the voter's choice is being influenced. So there is a need for disclosing the source of political funding to the voter.
When we take this dimension of revealing the identity of the person, it can be a threat for him also. We should think in that perspective also. His right to life may be in danger, because if an X person is parting fund to a Y person, the Z person may feel because of that funding itself he had won the election. So this Z person may try to attack those X person. That will be a threat to his life. That's the reason identity is not revealed in the first position.
How do we ensure anonymity even if even if it is ensured that the identity is not revealed? Because basically when I am donating to some political party, there is internally we have that rapport that I am donating to you, and there is obviously a quid pro quo mechanism, especially in the corporate world, where huge donations come to the national level parties, and the policies are institutionalized in their favor, seem to be institutionalized, not proved so. How do you ensure the anonymity is confirmed, anonymity is continued, even when it is legally promoted by the cause of electoral bonds, which was brought into the context in 2017?
Do you mean to say giving funding before the elections is wrong, right? Or it is having a negative impact on the government policy, right?
I don't mean to say the funding is wrong. The point was the point being put by our friend was the the threat to life when the identity is revealed. My question was how that identity will be preserved even when the anonymity is considered, because already there is a rapport between the donor and the donee, and the government has access to the data where it says that SBI is the authorized bank to accept electoral bonds. And even though SBI, as per legally, it is not authorized to disclose identity, there have been instances where leakages of personal data have been encountered. So my point was not about the wrong nature of funding of elections. It is imperative that elections has to be funded. My point was about the identity conflict which has been put forward.
Yeah, basically the role of the state is to provide security for everybody, every citizen of the country. So even though you are providing donation or not, it is the obligation of the state to provide security for every citizen. That is the first solution, first answer to your question. And when coming to the second answer, even though if you are provide donations before elections or after elections, the objective of the government is to promote growth, whether it is through social policies or economic policies. Even though out of let's suppose 10 corporates are there. Let's suppose for a ruling party, just 2 members have contributed to the ruling party. Even though they, out of 10 members, 8 members did not support the ruling party, this ruling party will take care of all those corporates because they are the employment generators. Because at the same time, they are the major source of income to the government, either through the corporate.
I want to add to the concerns raised by Anuradha regarding the anonymity clause, because revealing the identity of the donor will undermine his security and he will be subject to victimization. When we observe the details of the donors, especially regarding the electoral bonds or the official sources, 95% of the donations are being done by the corporations. So in India, we are well known of the nexus between the corporates and the politicians, we well know. So in regard to this, the Santanam committee, which was constituted to make recommendations to deal with corruption, has suggested to ban corporate funding to the political parties in India. So that might address your concern, and to provide an alternative avenue for the political funding, we might go for voluntary donations, especially from individuals, or we might choose the state funding of elections. And also the point I want to correct one raised by the person regarding political donations after the election, because it doesn't serve the purpose once the elections are over.
Because India is a democracy, we often goes to frequent elections, not single elections. As like right now we are going to elections for 5 states. Next year we are going to elections for some other states. Since this election is a continuous process, every political party requires funds. So I feel even though corporates they are providing before elections, general elections, since these states are going for elections very frequently, these national parties, even the state parties, require funding continuously, not one time. That's what my point is.
The question being posed is, how do you justify the corporate funding to one political party, which doesn't negate the possibility of favoritism by that party when it comes into power to the particular corporate house and the industry in which they work through institutional means and legalized means?
Your point is correct, sir. I am also saying the same thing. What I am trying to say is, even though corporates are providing donations to the government or any political party, those parties which come to the power, they tries to placate those who gave donations to their party, and they try to suppress those who did not provide funds to the opposition party. So my point is, even though they are suppressing to some extent, but their major objective is not completely suppressing them. Their major objective is to promote the growth and promote the economic activities. That's what my point is.
So with regard to the aspect of favoritism which we are talking about, corporates would, if they really have that favoritism, they're more profit oriented, so they'll vote to or they'll fund to the party which will satisfy their profits. So profiting of corporates cannot be seen in a negative way, because they are the ones who generate the employment, and so they'll have the their manifesto, whatever the political parties are having, their manifesto, if it is helping the
cause
corporates, then they would take up. It's
and
not
even there would be some political parties which are communist ideology. They do not support a corporate entity, or a political party that is purely for the protection of nature, environmental protection, or NGO type of a thought process. They will be devoid of any corporate funding support. So that will not make the elections equal. That will strike at the very basic role and objective of the election commission of our country. So that dimension also remains.
And electoral funding is not restricted to corporates. It's like a diversified field where many other professions also participate, but majority comes from the corporates. But the thing is, corporates in number are less. And democracy goes with majority. So I think their profiting, whatever profits they give as funding to the electoral parties is actually enhancing the machinery of elections. So it's like we are helping the democracy to prevail when they are giving us more funds.
I would like to add the point to Uma. We live in India, the major problem is many of the engineers are unemployed these days. If a corporate tries to support an election and a party, and if it comes into ruling, it is benefit for the people of India, especially engineers. Why I am emphasizing is many engineers are drawn into other different fields of many things which they don't deserve to do.
Then it is better for the corporate company to contest in elections.
It's not corporate profession to do that. It's not their mindset. Politics should be more state oriented. They are more profit oriented.
It is private by nature is profit oriented. Public by nature is service oriented. When a corporate investing in a public activity would always view for reaping the benefits in the name of policy bending.
So they will provide their amount to the party only when they see that their manifesto supports them. So it's like if they give tax incentives and subsidies.
If the manifesto supports, I don't know why all corporate companies donate to the ruling government only, as if their manifesto is always so beautiful.
So it's because historically and also present, we are expected the politician to be a one who wants welfare. So he may not be a person who has money to bring out his whole agenda to the people. In the age of technology, where you require certain machinery to propagate your manifesto, this money would help. Rather than, for suppose, there are two people contesting and one has the capability by inheritance of property or something to fund, and the other doesn't, but the other has the good manifesto, good thought-provoking, and changes can be brought in the society. His manifesto will not be coming out because he's not having money. So if the corporates fund these people, I think even his agenda will come out and he'll be in limelight, because it's more of a digital media era. I think
that's where the need for the state funding of elections comes. So the state will provide access for the less probable political parties to showcase their agenda through public medium, through air and digital media.
Promoting of awareness of the political parties can be done, but not the marketing. These days, the awareness is getting promoted, but not in a good terms. They are going more corporate, like marketing, which is not a which is not traditional thing.
There are two things. One is institutional failure, For institutional failure, we are not accepting the benefits it's giving. If a person is able to influence, a company is able to influence the political party, I think it's more of an institutional failure.
That is a fear due to the anonymity clause which is invoked in electoral bond scheme, because there is a scope for foreign donations as such by tweaking the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. So it is evident in Russia, allegations, as per the allegations that Russia has influenced US elections. So there might be a chance for a foreign nation or foreign company to influence our country's political future.
I accept this because a foreign, it's threat to sovereignty, but sovereignties, I'm sorry. But the problem is, for these things, these mistakes which are already known, we can't stop something which is benefiting elections, because elections are massive work in India for the population and the size of it.
That is why TN Station has already said that politics is the source of corruption. Actually, the political funding as such is the source of corruption.
Adding to her point, I have one. Do you think historically also corporates are not favoring any political parties? No, right?
No.
Historically also political parties are getting funds from the corporates. We are seeing these kind of Russia involving in the USA elections. These are the new phenomena because of geopolitical situations or some other dimensions. But historically, since from independence of India, not only from independence, before that also, many corporates are donating to the political parties. Even some corporates are contesting elections, which means there is an excess from the past itself. It is not a new phenomenon, basically.
Regarding state sponsoring the elections, already if we see our budget of 2023, we are already budget deficit. If states keep on spending its expenditure more and more, then from where do we generate the revenue?
On this broad context of regulation of donations and the source of fundings, the prime concern has been the nexus of corporates and the political parties, whereas one more concern has been the legitimacy of donations coming from the corporates, which helps at the cause of democracy. So I would like to transition from the regulation of donations to expenditure limits in the Indian political context, where basically capping of expenditure is for the candidate and not for the political parties. So in this context, I would like to invite perspectives from the panel.
Yeah, in this regard only, to restrict the expenditure by the candidates as such, and also in considering the inflation trends, the Election Commission has increased the expenditure limits. As of now, it stands at 95 lakh for a major state Lok Sabha constituency and 75 lakh for a Lok Sabha constituency from a smaller state. Regarding assembly seats, it is now at 40 lakhs for the major state and 28 lakhs for the smaller states.
Okay, I am opposing to that limit of expenditure, because even though there is a limit from the Election Commission of India, but in reality it is not implemented or it is not governed properly, because elections is not a small phenomena or small activity. It is a huge activity involving many departments, many functionaries of the state.
At
the same time, one second. At the same time, if you see the GDP numbers during the election time, let's suppose 2014 and 15, and then 2019-20, compare that year GDP numbers before the elections, it is a little bit higher, which means at the same time these elections are promoting the growth. And the next point is, during the elections so many people are getting jobs, maybe not regular jobs but part-time jobs they are getting. We need to think in that dimensions also, because if you restrict the funding, there are three problems. One is governance issue, how you govern, how to implement that restrictions, first point. Second point, GDP. During the election, how the GDP is progressing. And the third point, what is the employment generation during that time. These three things we need to consider before putting limit on the expenditure. That's
it can be clearly put as clean politics will lead to a clean economy as such. Just for the sake of promoting economy in a short period of 1 or 3 months, we need not spoil our economy over a long period of time in the name of unlimited funding of political parties.
Do you think pure politics is exist in world?
We want to make it pure, that's why we are speaking.
Idealistic world will not be possible in real.
But we have to balance to some extent.
Yeah, we can try to balance it out, but not completely.
బ్యాలెన్స్ థింగ్ యూకే ప్రైమ్ మినిస్టర్ రిషి సునక్ ఉన్నారు కదా, సో అతను ఎంత మనీ పెట్టేసి పిఎం అయ్యారు గ్లోబల్గా అంటున్నారు కదా, సో వీ కెన్ ట్రై దట్ ఇన్ వే.
Money doesn't have so much of role. It to an extent has a role, but the thing is sometimes people's opinion prevails is what I feel. Because money will become a fact. It's a long-term effect. Because election after vote, it's a long-term effect. I know people who are like not in tune with elections and they're not so much aware how it will change, how the result will change. But money is not a definite, rigid factor is what I feel.
ఇన్ మై పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ వ్యూ ఇట్స్ మై పర్సనల్ ఓన్లీ. కార్పొరేట్ ఫండ్ చేస్తున్నాయి కదా పార్టీస్కి, నా పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ వ్యూ ఏంటంటే డైరెక్ట్ ఎలక్షన్ కమిషన్కే ఫండ్స్ ఇస్తే ఎవరు నామినేట్ చేద్దాం అనుకుంటున్నారో వాళ్ళకే సమ్ అమౌంట్ ఆఫ్ మనీ ఇచ్చేసి కంటెస్ట్ చేసుకోమని చెప్పొచ్చు కదా.
That's in practice in international arena. I think, if I'm not wrong, it is in Chile. It has been on a pilot basis where the funds have been directed through the election commission, and then there have been instances where it is legitimized and legalized.
But unthoughtful state funding of elections would lead to frivolous candidates contesting elections to gain economic terms.
And that's also a point
When,
to be considered.
for example, a party usually contesting only 10% of the seats will put it candidates for 100% of the seats
I
for
think
money.
one more thing is the capping of the expenditure. We can't have a blanket capping because everyone has their own
That is why-
you can't have one size fits all approach.
That's why there are direct and indirect funding as such. In direct funding, the government, the state will fund in terms of cash or money as such. In indirect funding, it will give access in terms of advertising, so that the parties or a candidate can save advertising revenue, airtime and TV shows time.
You have raised one question about criminalization of politics, right? A good point actually. Criminalization of politics is how to eliminate criminalization of politics? Is it the problem of government or a judiciary?
Or the people.
Or both, or people.
Because in a society as ours, not much educated or not much empowered when compared to with other advanced democracies, it is the ones who lead the system as such. They should take the lead. For example, the political parties, they should take the lead. They cannot blame it upon the people.
Yeah, we cannot blame on the political parties also, because their major agenda is to win the elections, not to go with clean candidates, because major objective is to capture power and they rule the country. And if they don't want to give any seat for any criminal background candidate, that is not the problem of the political parties, it is the problem of the judiciary and to some extent government also, because it is the role of the government to provide sufficient manpower and infrastructure to the judiciary to eliminate all, to clear these pending cases which are pending from long, maybe 10 years, 15 years also. Here I want to tell is the problem of the both government and the judiciary, at the same time people also, because after coming to the Right to Information Act, Election Commission of India is providing sufficient information to the people to choose their candidate.
No, I want to counter that because political parties are taking shade in the name of public entities. As part of Section 8 Clause H of the RTA Act, they are exempted from disclosing the political revenues.
That's actually true, where political parties have been exempted from the RTI to disclose their funding, and their accounts are not even mandated to get audited. And I would like to give a brief context of the flow of the conversation, where when I introduced the concept of expenditure capping, I meant that individuals have been restricted on individual level, but the political parties have not been put a upper cap, where it has been used as a loophole. And then it is also not an obligation on the political party to disclose. Even if they disclose, there are no consequential treatments on frivolous use of the money. So, and as you rightly said, it is also exempt from RTI. Now, what the point being presented by Nagarjuna is the funding, even if it is higher than the decided limits of the candidates, and even if the political parties are using, it creates a cyclical economy feature where the lower level jobs and the lower level artisans get their livelihood in terms of funding and orders from the political parties for their campaigning agenda. But again, as rightly pointed out, we intend to proceed towards clean election, thereby proceeding towards clean politics and clean economy. Where
I personally feel what Nagarjuna was trying to tell is, when he spoke about the criminalization of politics and the role of people, you have to disclose the antecedents, criminal antecedents of the person who is standing in election. He was not talking from the funding perspective. He was talking from the people's responsibility to choose a clean leader. Even if the political party, nominates a person with criminal antecedents as their candidate, the people still at the end of the day have a choice not to elect him. Somewhere the role of the people also is there in cleansing our democracy or the election process. So what I personally feel, what Nagarjuna was trying to tell was, from the perspective of not disclosing the election funding dimensions, but from the antecedents of the contestant who is contesting in the elections. When the people know that particular person, and if you have seen very recently, because the Indian Express last week I was seeing, because they are supposed to disclose this in the national newspaper about the criminal antecedents, the nature of offences, when I was reading, I had a nightmare whom we are electing to be our leaders. Right from narcotic drug trade, right from women-centric issues, ethnic-centric issues, so many other issues related to CRPC, criminal attempt to murder and all, they are booked under heinous crimes also. Incidentally, only one dimension that was missing is terrorism. That was the only dimension that was missing. Other than that, every damn law they have violated and they are wanted. So where are we heading is what he was trying to probably tell. The role of people is also there in ensuring our democracy. That's the idea.
Exactly, sir. That's what I want to tell.
We cannot blame the people as such, because we as a society, we as the people of India had given some of our rights for the protection from the state. That is what is social contract theory. So we can, in my opinion, we should not blame the people, because when we had complete trust on the government that they will be framing the laws according to it, they have to clearly mention about their records if they have committed any criminal things. So in my opinion, people should not be blamed regarding this, because people in India are in a state of mind, not exactly, if we create an urban and rural divide, everyone cannot think in the same perspective. Maybe some people feel that even though he had done something in the past, maybe he would be better in the future. We cannot decide everything based on that. So I feel people should not be blamed in this.
Any state flourishes only when there exists a participative governance or participative democracy, for which proactive involvement of people and also proper decision making of people is also needed. In Indian society as such, people especially lack the courage to question. They are complacent. That is the reason for the corruption and complacency in the political parties as such.
In this context, I would like to bring to the notice of Anuradha that there are international best practices where people have the right there are two rights basically, right to recall and right to reject, where once a person is elected as a representative, people also have the right to recall that person from that post with certain terms and conditions. And when there are some allegations proved, the person and their immediate family members are rejected for the rest of their life to contest in a political dimension. So what you have said about not blaming people for not electing the right person, I personally believe they do have a responsibility, because when they claim rights, they also have duties to be performed, though not legally mandated. But as citizens, you have the moral responsibility to elect the right citizen, and in this context, a legal backing can be given by enacting right to recall and right to reject, which are existing in the international arena.
What do you mean by true root of this issue? You want to eliminate corruption, or you want to make the people to vote without taking money and without taking wine or something else? What do you want to say? What is the education literacy rate of India? 71%. But 71% of polling ratio we are getting in each elections? No, right? These 71% people are casting vote without taking money? Yeah, because they are taking, political parties are giving. It is the problem of the people and the political parties. Without getting my point, right? What I'm trying, I'm not blaming political parties, and I'm not blaming government also. I'm blaming everybody. I'm blaming the people, blaming the political parties and the Election Commission of India to some extent, and the same time judiciary also, because everybody have their own limitations, and everybody have their own problems in implementing the true spirit of the constitution. You getting my point, right? Yeah, here, by considering all the pros and cons, my personal belief is this process should continue until change should come from the people itself and political parties itself. It will take some time, but definitely I see some progress in that direction, where people are ready to cast their vote without taking any bribe. It will take some time, maybe decades or maybe centuries.
For example, within the available framework, we can expect from Election Commission to make it mandatory for the political parties to audit their annual balance sheet. It will make them accountable regarding funding. No, it will be put in the public domain. Now the information is not available. Only in the secrecy, the corruption or the anything else prevails.
He said also that is a loophole basically, because whatever the audit reports they are providing, even the candidates, that is the limit within the limits which are prescribed by the Election Commission of India. But unofficially they are spending huge amount. That's what he want to say.
Here we can initiate a new practice of oath of transparency in the place of vote of secrecy to all the office bearers and the political masters.
See, not expecting something from the political party, the people, is completely an utopian idea. We live in a society where people are born to be, people expect something from others. That is the reason my point is your idea is the completely utopian one. That's it.
Strict laws are always paper tigers. Implementation is the real required. Strict implementation comes from political will.
Who make laws? The people who are coming there only, right? That's what my point was, because my point is very clear that we should not blame the people, because as you mentioned, there are no stringent laws. Stringent laws should be made by the political party itself.
Strict laws cannot be made in a democracy, and it is also difficult to implement, because as a democracy, India is a democracy country, right? It is any law is a reflection of the will of the people. If the right, what is the meaning of the law? It's a reflection of the will of the people. If the people are not coming to represent
the will of people, majority of people, and the will of political parties are the same. They are not different. So we must have a strict rules in controlling that will.
How you want
you tend to say that people are selfish by nature, so that the concept of social contract has come in, where the people and also the state have to take their proportionate responsibilities. So in this process, the political masters or the political parties have to extend their helping hand by disclosing or making or doing clean politics. Only when the truth prevails, only then the state exists. Otherwise it will strike the base of the state as such.
I actually suggested a third party intervention in controlling the behavior of both sides. If it is not just the will of people shall not be entertained at all the times. An independent authority.
People behavior cannot be controlled, but regarding the topic of political funding.
One more thing, the politicians are part of the people. They are not different entity. So we must not separate them. So we must control them collectively.
There's a strong intensity of suggestion from the audience that there should be regulations and strict laws made with an independent authority in place to regulate both will of people and also political party, considering they are different, but actually they reflect the same, where political parties and the political representatives are elected by the people. So in this context, regulations and laws, more importantly the implementation part of the laws has prominence. In this context, there was attempt to regulate by means of electoral bonds, and the prime motive was to bring transparency and accountability, but in the law itself it has been mentioned that the transparency need not be, the purpose of transparency was circumvented by not allowing the quantum of donations, the donee and the donor also. So in this sense, the suggestion from the audience to bring strict laws, it is also in a, the consequence is also in a negative sense, that the political parties also are not willing to bring laws which will deteriorate their chances of future and promote the transparency also, because at the end of the day we see RTI also, there are huge benefits of RTI, and the political parties, when Arun Jaitley, Honorable Arun Jaitley was finance minister, they collectively passed the resolution where RTI was exempted, political parties were exempted from RTI. So that moment, if you watch of the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, it was unanimous decision by every MP of the
But they have circumvented the Rajya Sabha through Article 110.
Yeah,
they have moved it as a money bill.
Yeah.
So it is not the pure will of the nation.
No, that's a loophole in the process of enacting laws, right? Even Aadhaar has a controversy of promoting as a money bill, where it is being used as for a social welfare. So in this sense, what I mean to tell is, even though there is a intent to make laws purporting that we want to bring transparency, at the end of the day, the ground reality is that transparency itself is being circumvented. The prime example is electoral bonds, on which recent Supreme Court judgments have also told that they defeat the purpose of transparency. Now I would like the panel to move upon the solutions of the issue, where public financing, where crowd financing, and where state financing of the elections can be considered as alternative, and let's dwell upon this dimension. Also a little bit about the regulation of financial political parties in terms of auditing, maintaining and disclosing their financial records in public transparency and in public domains. What do we think about this public financing, crowd financing and disclosure requirements of the political parties?
We must adopt a practical way of addressing the issue, rather than going in a blind and utopian way, as she said.
Can you mention any practical solution or framework as such?
The ceiling, 90 lakh ceiling.
Ceiling as such, okay. Then how, if a state intends to fund the political party, what would be the mechanism or the model of funding? Ways and means. Not monitoring, the distribution. What is the criteria? How will it will distribute between the candidate or the political party? Between a recognized political party or an independent candidate? Between a national party and a regional party? Or between the top leader of the political party and the grassroots level worker of the political party?
It should be more proportionate. So, more proportionate in sense, the reverse of proportionality.
How would you measure?
Person who is more equipped should be given less.
How will you measure the equipment?
We can measure it by the term he is there in the position. So if he is there in the position for a long time,
then it would discourage new entrants into the politics.
No, I'm telling the reverse. So if he is more in power for more time, he is known figure. So he should be given less, the other should be given more.
Does that not incidentally defeat the principle of equality?
We are getting equity.
So you prefer equity more than equality?
Yeah.
That is violating our fundamental right? See, because a person, okay, he had an image for 5 years, he should also get the same thing as he's getting, the new one is getting. There should be no discrimination based on his experience, according to me.
Then what about the candidate who has finished the second or the third?
It is advisable to allot based on the regional jurisdiction of the party. If it is a state party, a certain amount should be fixed. And
How will you measure that amount?
We must, you see, at this point of time, I would like to highlight a point. We can create state provided employment during the election period by hiring the private people, private persons, private vehicles, creating infrastructure for the campaigning and providing in an organized manner by election commission itself and billing it to the predisposed values.
Then election commission should be more funded. So can we fund an constitutional
We
body?
must fund, madam.
When the scale is very high. Machinery, already we are suffering from machinery deficit.
We can use the state forces, state services.
No, we are after using everything also we are deficient in Bihar, West Bengal. When elections happen, it's that they need more force from the center again.
That's why I earlier highlighted the point. At the end of anything, we will get to the budgetary constraints. In this scenario, we have nothing but to impose a strict rules to control the spending, because we government are not a position to facilitate a transparent election. So, a strict rules must be employed to restrict them. This is a restriction. This is not a permanent solution. This is a temporary solution.
I agree. We can have rules. Rules are like okay. Then what about the implementing procedures?
Third party implementation by under the supervision of Election Commission of India and judiciary maybe.
Regarding the crunch on finances, as the state machinery is already spending hundreds of crores as part of elections, you are feeling that the state will not have resources to distribute to the candidates who are contesting. But I would like to make a mention that some of the schemes which are not in the good intention, like MP lads, they were intended to lure the politicians to support the party in ruling. So as of now, politician, an MP under MP lads is getting 5 crore rupees per annum. So 25 crore rupees for a period of 5 years. If we calculate 543 seats into 5 crores for a period of 5 years, we would get around 3000 crores. And we calculate it for the MLA seats, municipal elections, we will get enough amount, I think.
Can I give one possible solution? Yes, I know in the last Lok Sabha elections, India has spent around 60,000 crore on elections. Either
that's informal spending.
Let me finish. Either directly or indirectly, either legally or illegally. But my suggestion is, instead of directly conducting elections by the Election Commission of India, our government come up with some regulation to bring the limit on the election expenditure. Why can't we explore the online voting? Because government is actively promoting digital India campaigns and more number of citizens are in the youth age. I mean to say within the 30 years. Why can't we explore the online voting situation?
Online voting.
Regarding online voting, now there are too many data breaches that is happening these days.
One second. I'm suggesting online voting in terms of only finances, not any other dimensions, not security dimensions or any other dimensions, literally dimensions. Okay?
I didn't get your point.
But you cannot ignore other dimensions while you suggest for online voting. There are inherent cyber risk and data breaches and yeah.
So
yeah, I know there are so many issues even in the online voting system, because considering the literacy rate of India and the penetration of digital communication technologies in India. But my point is, irrespective of all the negative dimensions on the online voting system, my perspective is on the economy dimensions, because when you conduct your elections, everything in online, campaign is in online, voting is in online, nominations is also in online. Majority of the expenditure of the political parties and the voting, I mean to say,
So do you
polling percentage also will increase.
do you mean
See,
to
brother, 30%, according to Telecom Indian TRA, 30% of women never knew internet in their entire life.
Yeah, why can't we empower them?
In
Why
the
can't we
tran-
give some?
You see-
We can make UPI like we have UPI, right?
In the
Everybody,
process of making transition from
one second,
ballot
let
to
me address his question. You know, UPI is there, right? Even though if you go to the any small vendor shop, everybody, even though they have very limited knowledge about communication technologies, they are able to use it because it is very easy. They make it very easy. Why can't you make election application or any website to very user friendly? It is within our hands, right? We can make everything.
I would
So
like to
simple.
bring to your notice in your terms of economy and expenditure, do you feel digital promotion and digital campaign costs less than the physical campaign?
Also maintaining
Because
the servers.
recently the World Cup has been done, and if you have observed any match, in between there were INC ads, and it is said that for every 10-second slot there has to be 30 to 40 lakh rupees paid to the person who is authorized to make that ad. So in that sense, I don't think digital expenditure, digital voting would restrict the cause of regulating the election funding, because anyhow that the cost of digital campaign may also be directed through illegal means, and there are many loopholes in the economic and financial laws of the nation which promote the political party agendas.
Maybe, yeah, I can agree your point. Maybe your source of the funds, maybe there are some loopholes, as you said. But when you come to the actual implementation, as you said, in the World Cup match, for each ad they are making 30 lakh, 40 lakh, right?
For 10-second slot, it is 40 lakh rupees.
Yeah, 40 lakhs. Is it a legal or illegal?
It
It's
is
a
legal,
right?
but that's what I'm telling. The laws are made to be so,
If
where
you-
political will it
if
is.
if you know that is illegal, you can also able to dig into deeper to know the source of the fund, right? There is a possibility, right?
But that doesn't serve the point you initially started, where you said restricting the economic expenditure. Expenditure anyhow is being done through illegal or legal means, and in this case it is legal means. But the point which you emphasized to restrict expenditure, that
Yes.
doesn't serve the purpose of your argument.
Yes, that's what I'm telling. I'm not going into the any other dimensions, but my point is, at least let's suppose, as I said, in the previous Lok Sabha election, 60,000 crores was spent on election. If you go into the online, that much of expenditure may not be required. Maybe it will come to some. I don't.
Population of 148 crores, 60,000 crore
That
doesn't
too,
matter.
yeah, that too, it's not an official figure.
Yeah.
It may be more than that. I feel it may be 1 lakh crore also.
కెన్ యూ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ దట్? అంటే ఆ 60,000 crores అనేవి ఇండియాలోనే పంప్ అయినాయి కదా, అంటే సో పీపుల్కే వెళ్ళినాయి కదా. సో పీపుల్ అలా థింక్ చేసుకుంటూ షీ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ దట్ ఆ పీపుల్కి మనీ వచ్చేసి అదే దాన్ని సోర్స్గా తీసుకుంటున్నారేమో. ఇప్పుడు నౌడే వన్ పర్ పర్సన్ 1,000 rupees ర్యాలీస్.
You are not.
సో లేదా వినండి చెప్తా, ఓకే కౌంట్ దిస్. సో ఇప్పుడు లాస్ట్ స్టేట్ అనేదే చూసుకోవాలి మీరు అన్నట్టుగా. కాకపోతే లాస్ట్ సార్ చెప్పాడు కదా, 1 week నుంచి నేను చూస్తున్నా ఎంతోమంది నిలబడినారో నియోజకవర్గంలో, బట్ ఒక్కరు కూడా లేరు, ఇండిపెండెంట్ క్యాండిడేట్స్ లేరు. వాళ్ళు మన నుంచే రావాలి. ఇన్ కేస్ వాళ్ళు వచ్చినా కూడా వాళ్ళ మీద ఫేక్ కేసు పెట్టారు అన్న ఎలిగేషన్ కూడా లేదు. సో పీపుల్ చూస్ చేసుకోవాలి. బట్ పీపుల్ ఇన్ ఇండియా మోర్ పీపుల్ ఆర్ పూర్ అండ్ బిలో మిడిల్ క్లాస్. దే ఈజీలీ అట్రాక్టెడ్ టు మనీ. This fact we will consider that. Education is very important in.
It is very clear that India is a younger democracy. It requires some time to achieve the maturity levels as the best practices like Scandinavian nation people have. But the thing is that the point of we are addressing here is, can we find any solution at this instant?
So independent candidates should come to parliament. My
One
opinion.
more thing I was thinking about, why not the corporates or the funding should be in the form of infrastructure rather than money?
We are considering corporates as very good persons. That's not true. They won't provide crores of rupees just to support a political ideology. They do have their own implications from that.
No, I'm telling, let us convert money into infrastructure. They will provide the vehicles, they will fund for, they'll give the petrol for the campaigning and things. Why only money? If they're providing machinery, it's like visible what they are doing. It's their own will, how much ever they want to give, they can give. It's the corporates who will fund for that, right, sir? Whatever they want to give, they will give. I'm telling we don't need cap when it is infrastructure in the form. So
Nitish, I can give one opinion. As you said previously, there is a third party to conduct elections, right? Why can't we amend the laws to force the corporates to fund to that third party? Is it, we can explore that situation?
The third party is nothing but an organization under the supervision of ECI and judiciary.
Yeah, that's what. Whatever it is, most probably it is under the legal mandate only, right? And that's what. Instead of corporates giving donations to political parties, why can't we ask them to give to that third party who will conduct the elections? That will give some kind of transparency also, right?
That's correct, but the point is you and me cannot ask the corporates to give money to the election commission.
What I want to say is amend the laws. Is it possible?
It is not easy. It must, as it is a federal subject. A hell lot of process is under the constitution and under the will of political party which is holding the government up there.
Yeah, if we make the laws to abolition of Article 370, why can't we make this small amendment?
Even more than making laws, we need to bring behavioral changes in the political parties, how they conduct the politics, and also the people, how they behave. For example, we want clean politics, so that equally we want good citizens. So let us consider a scenario where the state issues a good citizen card. For example, he uses public transport instead of private vehicle. So we will give him some points in his good citizen card. So over a period of time he will accumulate a certain number of points which will be considered, and his children will be given preference in admissions to colleges or the others.
This is India. We have 140 crore population.
You mean to say
The scale of implementation of good citizen card is a big
an
question.
initiative, good citizen initiative.
good citizen points? Okay.
Innovative idea. It is being appreciated by the panel members, but the scale of the country is a big big question where the idea can be implemented. So adhering to the time restraints, I would like to sum up the discussion. So starting from the importance of democracy, coming to the criminalization of politics, then to the behavior of the political parties, to their mandate for accountability. We have also discussed about the solutions to public finance, solutions as to election funding, bringing transparency in terms of public financing, in terms of crowd financing, and there have been instances where the funding in existing scenario has been supported for promoting the cause of democracy. But the underlying principle of the entire discussion was transparency, which is the basis of any governance of any country, where the people's will is reflected in its true nature, in its political representation of the country. So on this note, I would like to sum up the discussion by requesting my fellow Telangana citizens to cast their vote on 30th of November. Don't forget to contribute to nation building, and I also hope our institute provides a holiday for going back to our constituencies and casting a vote. So thank you everyone, and thank you to the panel, to the ekamiasacademy for giving us this opportunity. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much to everyone.